Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to St. Roger Street, where we are all about all things DIY hand embroidery. And today I have a fun project for you, and that is these cute little Valentine snap clips. These are perfect for giving to your children or your nieces or nephews, or whatever littles you have in your life, or even making them for your kids to gift away at school for the Valentine exchange. And so I'm excited for this little project. Let's go ahead and jump right in. To get started, you'll need some hair clips. These are just some that I picked up at Walmart. And then I'm using a scrap piece of fabric here, and I'm gonna put that fabric into my embroidery hoop. Now you could totally do this without the hoop. In fact, in my other hair clip tutorial, I did it without the hoop. So if you want to see how I did that, you can check out that video. And so this video, I thought it would be nice to show you what it's like in the hoop. And I'm actually not tightening this super tight. I'm keeping it somewhat loose. And then I am just simply tracing the two clips onto my fabric as best as I can. And it's important to note that you should leave like a gap in the middle, because we're going to be cutting these out and we need to be able to attach them to the physical clip after we're done. So keeping a nice maybe an inch or an inch and a half in between the two should be perfect. The pen I'm using is called a friction erasable gel pen, and it's a pen where if you draw on it, it appears black, and when you're done, you simply apply some heat like a blow dryer and it totally disappears. For lighter color fabrics, that's important to note. If you try this on a darker color fabric and try to remove it, it might just leave some white marks. So here I am designing my clips. I thought it would be cute to just do 3 little hearts in descending sizes. For the other clip, I am hand lettering in cursive some X's and O's, hugs and kisses, perfect for the Valentine's Day holiday. To get stitching, I'm using 3 strands of DMC embroidery floss 3064, and I simply just knotted the end of my thread to anchor it in the back so that the thread doesn't come through. And then I'm just using 2 little lazy daisy stitches to create a heart shape. And here I'm going to be using this DMC 3064 for the top heart and also the bottom heart to create a little color pattern. When it comes to securing the threads in the back, what I do is simply double knot it and trim the threads. Also, I don't know how this always happens, but it's so annoying. Do you see that white thread there? Like, where did this thread even come from? But it's all tangled up in there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut that off. For the middle heart, I am using 3 strands of DMC embroidery floss 950, and I am just creating the same heart pattern with the 2 simple lazy daisy stitches. Also, so sorry, things are a little bit blurry and a little bit shaky. I'm still learning as I go and I'm making these YouTube videos, so this was definitely a learning moment for me, and I promise it gets better after the stitching phase. So for the X's, I am using 3 strands of DMC 3064, and I am using the stem stitch. You may know this stitch by its other name. It's also called the outline stitch. If you aren't familiar with this stitch, I'll leave a little link card to a tutorial on how to make the stem stitch above in the right corner of the screen. For the O's, I'm using 3 strands of DMC embroidery floss 950, so I'm keeping it with these 2 colored pink tones, and I'm just alternating them to make a cute little pattern. And again, I'm using the stem stitch or the outline stitch, whatever you prefer to call it. And I find it easiest when doing this stitch on something that's round like a letter O to turn the embroidery hoop as you go, as it just makes it a little bit easier and less confusing when you're stitching. So now that I'm done stitching, I'm going to go ahead and remove my embroidery hoop from the fabric, and this is what we will have. And we are going to want to cut these out. Now it's going to be important, like, don't cut on that black line, but cut just a little bit outside of that. So I think maybe that's a centimeter. Cut about around a centimeter around each hair clip, and you will kind of notice as you begin to assemble if it's too much fabric, you just trim a bit off, but we definitely don't want too less, like that's the danger zone. And before attaching the fabric to the clip, I actually need to prepare some felt. So here I have some white felt as it matches my fabric, and I'm just kind of cutting around the hair clip so it should be like a perfect fit. Now if you watch my other hair clip tutorial, this will be a bit different. So in that hair clip tutorial, I used 2 pieces of fabric that I stitched on, and that was actually pretty thick. So this is just an alternate solution, because whenever we put the fabric on the clip, if I put it on this black clip, you will definitely see the black clip shining through, and so this piece of felt is actually just going to prevent that. And then this brown felt here that I'm cutting out is going to be the base of the clip. So a couple different pieces to cut there. So the felt should be a pretty perfect fit, and once it's a fit, I'm actually going to apply some hot glue to the top of the clip and to the bottom, and then I'm going to place that white felt on top of it. Just makes it not be so wobbly or moving around when I'm trying to assemble it. Now moving on to assembly, I'm going to use 1 strand of DMC embroidery floss, and I'm just using something that is light colored. Here it happens to be white, and I'm going to make the quilter's knot to knot the end of my thread. That's just a little embroidery trick. I'll link it above. And what I'm going to do is simply make the running stitch all the way around the border of my clip piece of fabric here. And what the running stitch is just going up and down through the fabric a short distance away. So in the grand scheme of things, whenever we're attaching this to the clip, basically what it's going to do is like act like a drawstring and attach itself to the clip, making it much more easy to assemble, as basically the fabric and the clip is like helping itself help us get this job done. So I'm just doing that all the way around the border of this fabric. Once I've made my way all the way around with the running stitch, what I'm going to do is simply place the clip in place under the fabric and kind of wrap the fabric around the clip. And I'm going to help the clip and the fabric by pushing the fabric up with my fingers, kind of making like a little indentation for it to go in, and then I'm gonna pull this string, and it should wrap around the top of the clip. And you can pull on both ends of the string, because sometimes if you just pull on the front one, it won't pull the back threads. So feel free to kind of just feel it out and do whatever it is you need to do to help it get in its correct place. And this is going to be super helpful for the next step, as basically the fabric is helping us stay in the correct position. And as I'm doing this, it's important to check the front and make sure your design is lining up nicely on the top of the clip, because that is the part that matters the most. Everything looks good, so I'm going to begin to stitch this in place. I'm using that same strand of thread, which was really nice that I cut it long enough to not have to cut a second one. And so what I'm doing here is just going down through the fabric on one side and up through the fabric on the other side and pulling tight to really secure things in place and to make the clip nice and tight all the way around so that everything is fully attached. Now it's important to note here, once you get close to the physical clip part, I'm going under the clip, not over the clip. And right there, as you can see, I looped it around so that it doesn't get caught on the top. So you just have to be aware of that, as it can be a little bit sneaky and try to get tangled, but you just have to be on top of it. And so I'm just going over and under through these pieces of fabric, lacing them together and pulling the piece together to secure everything so that we can have a beautiful little clip that does not fall apart. And again, I'm looking at the front of my clip to make sure that it's going in place and is in the right position. So you can just do that as you are working your way across the clip. And when it does come to the ends, I find it helpful to kind of go the opposite direction that we've been going, to kind of get that bigger, fluffier part to be patted down. Once you've made your rounds and everything is looking secure, now would be a good time to double knot just to secure that everything is in place. Now I'm going to take my bottom layer piece of felt and I'm going to line it up with the clip to see where that pokey clip part starts, and that's where I'm going to pinch the piece of felt and just simply cut a little notch in it. Be very careful not to cut it in half. That's why I only use the tip of the scissors, because I have done that a lot. So here's the little notch, and we are simply going to insert the pokey clip part into that notch and give it a little push until it goes on, and it should line up perfectly. If it doesn't, just cut out a new one or try again and troubleshoot. So it's super nice that my thread is still long enough, so I'm using that same piece of thread, and now I'm going to attach the felt to the clip to bring this project to completion. To do so, I'm going up through the fabric, or through the felt first and then through the fabric, and then coming back up through the felt and through the fabric. Basically, I'm just going to be making my rounds going all the way around the clip. So up through the felt, and I am snagging a little piece of that fabric and going up through that as well. So once I've made my way around, I'm simply going to double knot my threads to secure them in place, and then I'm going to hide these threads. To do that, I'm going to go down where the knot is and then up through the back of the felt, pull my needle through, and then snip off that thread, and it will be totally hidden and your clip is done. Lastly, if you use that friction pen, you'll just want to take a blow dryer or some heat source and get rid of that ink, and we will be left with a perfectly white and cute little hair clip. And here they are, our two cute and adorable little hair clips. Feel free to use these same patterns, same colors that I used, and make your own Valentines for the little loved ones in your life. And real quick before we go, I just wanted to show you how I packaged these up. So I typed this up on Canva, and now I cut the paper and I cut a little slit in the middle so that the clips could be inserted and clip onto the paper. And it is the perfect little holding spot for them and the perfect way to add a note to them as well. And to wrap this up, I did find this little cellophane packaging at Michael's craft store so that it's nice, clear, and you can see through it and you can see what you are gifting. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this fun craft. I hope you loved it, and if you did enjoy this project, would you go ahead and hit that like button? And if you're on the lookout for more fun embroidery DIYs, please do be sure to subscribe, as I have much more on the way. And until next time, my friends, happy stitching!